Today on a Friday edition of Collider Movie Talk, we're going to get an update about Spider-Man from the Sony Pictures CEO, and we're going to talk about that new clip from Ad Astra, Space Pirates. What are we talking about here? We're going to break it all down today on a Friday edition of Collider Movie Talk. All right, there's that logo. Look at it. Look at it. It's so beautiful. Green,
such
white.
Good
I love it.
logo.
I love it, right? I am John Rocha, the host today. Perry Neveroff, still up there in the Great White North doing her thing at TIFF, enjoying some awesome movies. Thank you all so much for joining us today on Collider Movie Talk. By us, I mean not just me, but these two incredible gentlemen to my right here. Silas Lesnick, how are you, my man?
Great. Happy to be here.
It's good seeing you again. And Greg Alba, fresh off a drive to this studio that always messes you up. How are you?
So happy to be here, John. I love it here. Collider rocks. Can that be my Collider show?
That'd be a great show.
Can I be the 87th Collider show?
You could be
Collider rocks.
An 80s show called Collider Rocks, hosted by Greg Alba.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah,
I'll just review Collider videos.
No,
yeah.
I think you'd have to review 80s movies through the Collider prism. That would be
I don't know who didn't yes and on this one, but we'll play it back later and find out.
Oh, was it an improv? Is that what we were doing? Oh,
who
okay,
did a little bit of
Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm no good at that. That's why I do this now. Anyway, let's jump into our first story. Sony CEO, the Sony Pictures CEO, Tony Vinciquerra, I hope I'm saying that right, it was speaking at Variety's Entertainment and Technology Summit, and he revealed that Spider-Man, the door is closed for now. The door on Spider-Man for the moment is closed in terms of the negotiations between Sony and Disney. This, of course, has been dominating the headlines since it was first kind of announced that they couldn't come to an agreement about keeping Spider-Man in the MCU. He also went on to say that there was no ill will between Sony and Marvel in the negotiation process, but also added that this property he also says that it's a long life, which kind of implies that maybe down the road they'll work this thing out and Spider-Man could appear in the MCU. Silas, you hear this from Tony from the Sony Pictures CEO there. Does this seem like a very firm confirmation that we should now just accept the fact that Spider-Man is firmly in the Sony world, and we're not going to be looking at this MCU Spider-Man for at least a few more years?
It just sort of annoys me. It's like you guys you should be able to figure this out.
Right.
I was taught that with great power comes great responsibility.
Don't you say it. Don't you say it.
I think Sony and Disney and Marvel, their responsibility is to the fans.
Yeah.
And regardless of who you think is right or who you think is getting the credit they deserve, the fans want to see Tom Holland in the MCU. And to say that that's not going to happen because you guys can't figure out how to make a deal, that's just stupid.
Yeah. Well, you look at the reactions here, Greg. He seemed to be playing both sides of the fence here by saying, look, the door is closed for now, but it's a long life to this property, so kind of implying that maybe they'll look at it down the road. But he also implied that he's very well aware of how the fans have been reacting by saying it's been an interesting 2 weeks. How do you take all these comments from him in your analytical real rejects mind, Greg?
Well, I know we're going to be talking about this for a long time. This will be the main subject title of many Collider Movie Talk videos to come.
Maybe.
Anything that comes out about this is the new headline, right? Mm-hmm. But reading through the Variety article when I was with you guys, I was like, wow, I feel like communication, a big part of it is tone and body language. And obviously I can't hear or see anything of what he's communicating. Mm-hmm. But when I'm reading some stuff where especially when he says Kevin didn't do all the work.
Oh, yeah.
When I'm reading that, it sounded a little sassy in my mind. Mm-hmm. It seemed like he was because he was talking about how the franchise was fine before the big event team up movie with the Avengers and the MCU. It sounds like they are trying to be like, hey, no, we can do this. Yeah. If we need to, we can make this happen, guys. I'm 1,000% with you, Silas, who has the most beautiful blue eyes in the world, by the way. Like, seriously, I wish the camera, we could zoom in on that. But no, I do think that this is what I bring to Collider Movie Talk.
That's right. Yeah. That's why it's Friday. Go ahead, baby.
That's why it's Friday. But yeah, no, it seems like they are trying to reassure fans in a certain way, but it also seems like to me, it reads as he's a little bit annoyed by the amount of sort of heat that has been coming their way because of this.
Yeah, so us as fans, sometimes we can get caught up in like putting casting these aspersions on, these people at Sony and these people at
not you, John.
Disney and Marvel.
Definitely not you.
I'm very guilty.
You're
of
not known to do that.
Please, I'm very guilty of it. But you hear this thing, but these are powerful people in the world, men and women at the top end of their job. So. Oh, okay. Wow, this is a Friday edition. Let's
God, I don't know how to host things.
Is this really happening? Okay, all right. Well, what I'm saying is that it's interesting to me when you see this kind of thing, because these are powerful men. They have responsibility to the fans and to the creators of these properties, but they also have an ego. And so when you're looking at an ego of a CEO of Sony Pictures, listen to these comments. He says that Kevin Feige was stretched incredibly thin. Then says, we had a great run with Feige on Spider-Man movies, making it essentially seem like Feige was an employee of the situation, not necessarily driving force. And then says, we tried to see if there was a way to work it out. The Marvel people are terrific people. They're terrific people. We have great respect for them. But on the other hand, we have some pretty terrific people on our own. And here's the one. Kevin didn't do all the work. That is a shot across the bow, if I ever heard one, to kind of discount what Kevin Feige did in this situation. All right, we're going to go to you, Greg. You hear this? As we said, the salty stuff. What do you think about it?
Well, it just goes to support my point that I think there's been some real sass being thrown left and right here. What's the situation with John's camera? I can't do this if you're not here, John. Oh God, Silas, can you come in the frame with me, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we make this happen on Collider Movie Talk? Yeah, I mean, I already made my whole point about how Kevin didn't do all. With him saying Kevin didn't do all the work, it sounds like they're trying to give themselves a little bit, because he also proceeded within later on in that quote to talk about how there was a Universe Masher movie, and now they.
Hey guys, it looks like we're gonna stop and start over again to see if maybe that's what it works. So if you join us live, stay with us. We're gonna come right back as soon as we reboot this thing. We'll go live.
This has been great. What's going on?
All right, we are back. Oh, geez, there it is. There it is. That's a Friday edition of Collider Movie Talk for you. We are back. Really apologize for those technical difficulties there. You know, sometimes it happens. Welcome to life, but we roll with it. Thank you for staying with us. We came right back. Like I said, we're live again. So let me reiterate what I was saying here before about Vince Zacara, and then we'll get Greg's thoughts on this and Silas's thoughts on this as well. These are pretty salty remarks, I feel, from Vince Zacara, and maybe I'll get in trouble for saying that, but I do feel this way. Him saying that Kevin Feige was stretched incredibly thin, which I don't know how he can speak for Kevin Feige, but it's an interesting shot across the bow at Kevin, especially after saying there was no ill will between him and Marvel. And then he goes on to say we had a great run with Feige on Spider-Man movies with Feige, not like Feige was the one who resurrected our property. He was saying Feige was like a good employee to have on this property. And he said we tried to see if there was a way to work it out. The Marvel people are terrific people. We have great respect for them. But on the other hand, we have some pretty terrific people on our own. Kevin didn't do all the work. So on one side, he's saying that Marvel and Disney Disney and Sony have no problems with each other, no ill will. But on the other side, he's kind of denigrating what the fans really believe is that Kevin Feige resuscitated this Spider-Man franchise. Greg, this is super salty, right? I'm not misreading this, am I?
You are not, John.
Okay, all right. What do you think?
I think this is the best Collider Movie Talk I have ever been a part of. I am so happy right now.
All right.
I mean, do we have to just repeat some of what we talked about earlier?
What you talked, yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, when I was here with you guys and I was reading this out loud for the first time I'd ever read it, I was laughing at some of the stuff he was saying. Right now, it seems like I don't want it. I think they can do a Spider-Man 3 at most without being MCU associated or adjacent in any capacity.
Right.
Sure. But I don't think they're gonna, it's like I still think they need each other. And I feel like at the end of the day, they might experience some type of loss in terms of, if you view fans like what we're talking about, fans equals customers. I feel like, and as a business, they'll still lose some customers if they don't end up back with, back with the MCU.
Well,
so I do think that he's taking some. I feel like this is still public negotiation. I feel like we're going to talk about this forever. This still sounds like public negotiation. At the very top of it, he even says the door's closed for now, which I know all of us are going to really read into for a long time to come. So, and I feel like that's very intentional to say something like that, and then kind of put the blame back at, he's a little stretching himself too thin, which which I agree with you. It's weird for him to talk about. He's Sony. He's not with Kevin Feige all day, and he's kind of putting it all directed at him.
Right, and nothing against Tony Vinciquerra. I'm sure he deals with a lot of stuff.
I'm sure he's a great human being.
Well, no, I'm just mean as a Sony Pictures CEO, I'm sure he has to spin a lot of plates at the same time. Certainly, so he should. He probably understands how Kevin Feige's workload can be. But I don't think he can speak for Kevin Feige, which I thought was a bit untoward of him. But you look at this, Silas. Is this just him, like, kind of pushing back against this narrative that Sony's going to mess it up?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, the idea that Kevin Feige is too busy. This is something that Kevin Feige wants to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think the danger is that not that Sony will close the door, but that Marvel will close the door. Because if they're looking and plotting out their next 10 years of movies and they say, well, we were going to do this thing with Spider-Man and now you have just upset that entire balance, we don't want to work with you again if that's the way you're going to act. And it's just funny, the idea of, like, the thought, I'm not getting enough credit for this, because that's what Spider-Man goes through.
Yeah.
He's always saving somebody, and then he reads in the paper that they're blaming him as a criminal.
Right. Oh, that's a great point. It's kind of a I don't know, meta in that way with that situation there. He also says further on, he goes on to say, I think we're pretty capable of doing what we have to do here. So he's kind of bucking up his studio, which you would expect. I mean, you don't want him coming out to be like, you know what, I hope we don't mess it up, because then you guys are going to be really mad. He's just trying to put some faith back into Sony, and that's his job as the CEO.
To be completely fair, because they were talking about how they were with the MCU, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, and then now he goes on somewhere in the quote to talk about how they want Tom Holland to cross over into whatever weird Spider-Verse they've been creating themselves, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like for the most part, they've been doing a pretty good job with that. Like Venom, I don't think the quality of filmmaking is on par with something like the MCU, but it was still a juggernaut of a hit. I personally thought it was a lot of fun. I had a really great time watching it. Into the Spider-Verse won an Oscar. It's a great movie. So I wonder if anything having to deal with MCU possibly touching what they actually have a good handle on already had something to do with this as well.
Well, I think they're going to get proven out seeing how that third film comes out. If the third film comes out and it kind of like,
if it
tarnishes,
they're going to be like, please take us back.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of situation, and I think that's why he's smart to say, for the moment the door is closed, but this property has a long life, or it's a long life, essentially implying that they could come back to it down the road.
At the end of the day, we keep talking about like Feige's MCU, and while he has a big input on it, and then here with Sony, I think at the end of the day, it really does come down to the creatives who are making these movies. First and foremost, and what the partnership is when working with them.
Well, let me ask you this, and we'll wrap up here and get to the chat questions. The chat is vibrant about this situation. Silas, one of our followers or fans either tweeted at me or sent me an email, and he said to me, do you think this is a strategy by Disney and Marvel themselves to not have to negotiate, like to let Sony do what they need to do with Spider-Man and launch their universes, because they weren't going to use Spider-Man anyway in Phase 4, and this way they can wait until Phase 5 to renegotiate the situation and see what Sony does with Spider-Man, and if they mess it up, then they're in a better situation to negotiate better terms than they would have been at. Do you think that's maybe?
It's a nice idea. I doubt it.
Okay.
I'm kind of worried that the movie we're going to get now from Sony is like Spider-Man Never Say Never Again.
You mean like the James Bond?
The James Bond, where like a different company came in and they got Sean Connery and they remade Thunderball, but it wasn't really very good and it didn't connect to anything.
And if I'm correct, they couldn't even say his name is James Bond, or he couldn't say, like, there was some kind of restriction in the movie that they couldn't say he was 007 or James Bond. I can't remember, but what do you think? Do you think like your your brain kind of blew up a little bit thinking
This
about the
just-
fact that
it
this
just
is a
sounds
long
like-
play from Marvel and Disney.
It just sounds like like a breakup where someone's like, well, if I just ignore them for a while, they're gonna want to get back with me. And that's what it's making me like. Because that's what that idea. Like, I'm with you. It doesn't sound like what it is, but part of me wants to believe that's what it is.
Right.
That sounds just too amusing to me.
It would be funny if Feige is like Blofeld stroking his cat, going like, you know, that's right.
That's right.
Oh, is my workload stretched too thin? We'll see in Phase 5.
I mean,
like that.
there's also the angle that, and I don't know if this is the case or this is just paranoia or whatever, but like, if Marvel turned on Sony, they could wipe any movie they wanted to put out off the map. They have so much power behind them, and it's one of those things where it's like, at what point are you disturbing the beast by trying to take your stuff back?
Yeah.
Well, we got let's get some chat things, comments here. Steve Calderon asks, if the Disney deal is officially done, does this mean Sony will put Tom Holland in a post-credit scene for either Morbius or Venom 2?
Well, you know, there was the rumor that has gone on for quite a while that Tom Holland filmed scenes for Venom.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, like, it sounds increasingly plausible as we hear about the way they're running things.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think the idea is crazy that, like, you introduce Spider-Verse, everyone loves Spider-Verse, and the basic core of Spider-Verse is that there's an infinite number of Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
So why do you need this one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair point. Well, I think they need it because it is the most well-known Spider-Man outside of like the nerd-loving public. Everyone knows Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Not as many people know Miles Morales yet.
But you could do another Peter Parker.
Yeah, true. You could do. You mean like other than Tom Holland?
Yeah, I mean, you could bring back Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire or cast a new Peter Parker or do all of the above at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
that'd be
What
neat.
do you think? Do you think he'll show up in a post-credit scene for Venom 2 or
I
Morbius?
feel like I think at least Venom 2. I feel like it's likely. I think that even if they work this out, I don't think there's any way they're going to agree to work together again unless Tom Holland's Spider-Man can cross over into like their own little Spider-Verse themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I feel like it's pretty likely it's going to happen.
Well, if nothing else, maybe Sony reads the tea leaves and introduces Miles Morales in a Spider-Man movie. So if they renegotiate down the road to bring Tom Holland back into the MCU, Sony is fine having their Miles Morales to be their resident Spider-Man to go into these other properties like
Yeah.
Silver and Black and Venom and Morbius. And who knows if they do a Sinister Six or Doc Ock or whatever they do, there's possibilities for them to have an actual Spider-Man that the most of the people who are fans of Spider-Man know.
right.
You know,
I think
so
they should just reboot it again.
you-
Yeah. Seriously, guys.
Stop it.
What are we doing?
Well,
just reboot it
It's
again.
funny you asked this because that's our next question. Micah goes, if you could recast Spider-Man, who would you cast?
Michael B. Jordan. What does everyone always say?
There you go. He's too
Idris
busy
Elba.
being Spider. He's
Yeah.
too busy being Superman, Michael B. Jordan. Who would you recast?
For like the Peter Parker or Miles Morales?
Peter Parker.
Wow, that's a
Or
fun
both if you have
question.
both.
Jeff Snyder, because that would just be too
Oh my
amusing
God.
for me.
He could be, just not, it could be Uncle Ben.
I mean,
I'm just filling the gap right now till someone comes up with an answer.
Oh, okay.
I will say, and it's kind of a cheap answer, but Tobey Maguire, like, just make Sam
Bring him
Raimi's
back.
Spider-Man 4.
Well, yeah, I've been thinking. I think it would be so cool to see like
Interesting.
an old man Peter Parker story, because there's been stories in the comics where he's like married and has a kid and
Yeah.
everything, and I'm like, it'd be cool to actually see them do that if they brought him back, but they didn't go, let's pick it up a year after Spider-Man 3, but something where a lot of time has actually passed.
Well, there is an old man Spider-Man, essentially a Dark Knight Returns version of Spider-Man called Spider-Man Reign. If you've never read that, it's a fantastic graphic novel where he is an old man, like
Then
literally
adapt
an old man.
that with Tobey
Yeah, right.
Maguire.
I
That'd
don't
be
know.
cool.
We should also mention that Marvel Comics have been teasing a big event with the major death of a character and have shown some body underneath a sheet with
yeah?
a bunch
Right.
of Avengers gathered around.
Yeah.
And if you look back at the way Fox operated with Fantastic Four and X-Men, Marvel Comics was sort of like, well, maybe we don't need these characters in the comics right now.
Yeah.
Is it possible they're going to do it with Spider-Man? I don't know, but
Yeah, well, that's certainly possible. For me, Timothée Chalamet seems to be would be an interesting choice to play Spider-Man, a more like independent feel, a more nuance. It would be fascinating to see his approach to it. And I know the thirst is deep for Timothy Chalamet that I've discovered with a lot of people in our punditry sphere. So he'd be interesting. Let me see. Let's move on to some plugs. Let's jump into some plugs here that are stuff that's coming up here. This weekend, the Collider mailbags are popping off. I'm hosting both Saturday and Sunday. I have Danny Fernandez joining me on Saturday, and Variety's Angelique Jackson stops by on Sunday. I got to get Silas on the show, and Greg too, to come back on mailbag. It Chapter 2, there's a spoiler review for It Chapter 2. That is up as well for you all to watch. Me, Christian Ruvalcaba, and Mark Riley break down our full thoughts, spoiler-filled thoughts on It Chapter 2. Maybe you already saw it last night or you're seeing it tonight. Watch our review after you do that. Also, let's jump on. There's a new time for Movie Talk that is happening. It's coming on September 16th. Perry Nemiroff has some words to say about it. Let's take a look.
Hey guys, it's Perry here to let you know that Movie Talk is moving. We've had a great time in this 3 p.m. Pacific slot, but guess what? We want you to start your day with Collider Movie Talk, so we're moving. 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to get a longer show with some brand new segments, so tune in starting Monday, September 16th, 9 a.m. Pacific. See you there.
Don't forget to plug Collider.
All right, there you go. It is. It's happening on the 16th, 9 a.m. PT. Movie Talk, moving to the morning. Going to be a little bit longer, so going to cover some more stories. For those of you on the East Coast, we'll join you for lunch. You can sit and enjoy us for lunch as we talk about it. For those of you on the West Coast, maybe you're waking up and you're riding along with us, watching us on YouTube, or you are eating your breakfast along to what we're talking about on Movie Talk. Anyway, let's jump into our second story. That's from Brad Pitt. His new movie, Ad Astra, is coming out on September 20th. Not a lot of huge buzz going on for this one, but one that myself, as a fan of space movies, am thoroughly excited to see. This one from director James Gray, who's, I think, Lost City of Z was one of his most recent films of note. But they released, the studio released a clip from the film, which is essentially Brad Pitt being chased down by space pirates on the moon. That's right, you heard me, space pirates on the moon. There's not no Johnny Depp with no winged flag. It's more that they're all on those little vehicles with their astronaut suits on, going at each other. Apparently, there's blaster fire, laser blaster fire. So this is certainly an interesting movie that has kind of this vibe of a more serious and important movie combined with these kind of outlandish laser blast fire space pirates on the moon thing.
Right.
What do you think about this, Silas?
I'm really excited. I didn't know much about James Gray when Lost City of Z came out, and I really liked it. And it has a really cool blend of sort of like, it's poetic, but it's not pretentious. But there's action, and they're on a jungle expedition, and this looks like a science fiction version of the same thing, which I'm sold. Yeah,
what do you think of that, watching the clip?
I haven't seen the Lost City of Z. But I have seen the 2 trailers for this and this clip. And I feel like this movie is going to probably be a lot more heady and more existential than probably how they're trying to push it. I'm kind of flashing to when they did Annihilation just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, oh, look, exciting sci-fi thriller, but wait, this is kind of really mind-boggling, and it's a little bit difficult to keep up with. So I feel like they're intentionally pushing like this clip because they're like, no, we got to show that there's going to be some exciting stuff in here. And as the clip goes itself, I think the clip is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the sound design, especially of it, because usually you associate like an action scene like that with a lot of noise, and it's not just completely silent, and it's not just completely muffled, like emulating kind of the sounds of space. It seemed to have just the perfect blend of just a really great sound mixing overall, where you can still feel like you're out in outer space. And then when you first sent me the article for it, I was like, what? This sounds stupid, Moon Pirate. It sounds like cheesy and campy. And then you watch it, and it's a much more grounded approach and the most realistic of takes I imagine you could possibly do with it. So I think it looks really cool, and I'm excited to check it out. I feel like it's probably going to be. I feel like it's going to be an IMAX movie. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's what I was thinking too when you said IMAX. I was thinking the look of it had a little bit of First Man. There's a little vibe of the First Man. Interstellar, certainly. Even The Martian, right? We spent a lot of time on Mars in The Martian and getting used to that environment. So I think a lot of that bleeds over into this clip and into this feeling. Brad Pitt doing his thing, kind of the smooth approach to the world that he has. but it'll be interesting to see once he comes face to face with Tommy Lee Jones, who is his dad, who he is going after to figure out. It has also a little bit of Apocalypse Now vibe to it, because apparently Tommy Lee Jones has been out there for a while in space. He's kind of created his own community. Is he kind of Kurtz in space? I don't know.
You had a fan theory about Tommy Lee Jones's character you were sharing with us before the show.
Well, yes,
that I
me
think
as a fan theory. Wouldn't it be funny if they've connected this to Space Cowboys? Because everybody knows Tommy Lee Jones was the last one left on the moon in Space Cowboys. Maybe this is a sequel to Space Cowboys.
Right.
Wouldn't that blow your mind? But I'm sure it isn't. That being said, though, do you think that this is possible with the film as well with Brad? Like, is there Oscars around this thing, Silas? Is there a possibility here?
I think absolutely. But I do think it's kind of a weird year for astronaut movies because we've seen like Claire Denis' High Life came out, and it's like Robert Pattinson as an astronaut, and
we got Lucy
Noah
coming
Hawley,
out.
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Natalie Portman as an astronaut. There was a movie just called Astronaut that had why am I blanking?
I rewatched The Astronaut's Wife
Richard
last
Dreyfuss.
week. You know,
The what?
I rewatched The Astronaut's Wife last week. The best space movie, by the way.
That is not you. What? The Charlize Theron one?
I try to get prepared for, get in the mood for these movies. And
I would
felt
like
The
to
Astronaut's
recommend
Wife
some
was the
other
right one.
astronaut movies for you to watch.
No,
Everyone knows
Astronaut's
Joe
Wife.
Dante's Explorers is the best space movie of all time.
And then Space Cowboys top it off with that. And you're set.
It's a good question. Nothing beats 2001: A Space Odyssey for me, but I'm open to suggestions.
Overrated.
Oh no!
Astronaut's Wife
I
is
won't allow
where I
that.
stand.
I won't allow that on this show. All right, we'll see. Ad Astra comes out, like I said, September 20th, and you guys probably haven't heard much buzz about it, but it looks fantastic to me. And as a fan of space movies, I can't wait to see if this one actually does good work. It may quietly slide into a Best Picture slot, depending on the critics and the box
It
office.
seems like the kind of movie where every technical department will get an Oscar nomination,
Oh,
but
right.
Brad Pitt won't. Like, it just looks like that kind of film.
Certainly possible, that's for sure. That has happened. All right, let's move on to some chats here. Spell Go says, I think Ad Astra might be overshadowed by Rambo Last Blood. If it's overshadowed by anything, it'll be Downton Abbey. I don't think Rambo Last Blood people are going to be.
I don't think Rambo Last Blood is going to make a lot of money.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't
What's
think
the?
it is.
What do you
Yeah.
like? We've seen the trailers. It feels like just a shade above a TV movie right now.
If they did not put Rambo, the title, at the end, I would have thought it was just another Sylvester Stallone movie.
Another
You know?
vehicle.
Yeah, it just
Right.
looked like another bullet to the head kind of film to me. It didn't look like Rambo significant. And when John Rambo came back, that wasn't even that huge of a hit either.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be that. I feel like, of course, there's those Rambo fans.
Right.
I've seen every Rambo movie, but I'm not itching to go watch and beat up some cartel dudes.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. What do you think, Silas? Do you think it'll overshadow or no?
I kind of feel the same way. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know what else I really want to see Rambo accomplish. Like, it's cool that he became a cowboy, and I'm sure it'll be fun seeing him kill some people. But there's not like a conclusion. I'm like, I really hope Rambo gets a girlfriend. Or like,
What's
Yeah, I mean, it almost has a Get Carter vibe, right? Remember Get Carter,
Yeah.
that remake of the Michael Caine movie that Stallone did? He's essentially going back to try to figure out what happened to his brother, and then gets connected with the niece, Rachel Lee Cook. You wonder if there's something, some kind of vibe here, because he's apparently going to confront the cartels because they hurt his friend's daughter or something like that, and so there's that kind of vibe to it. And the thing, I also think a little bit like Rambo is supposed to be a person who doesn't want to get involved.
Yeah.
He gets dragged into even the last one in Rambo, the Burmese, he did not want to go to Burma.
Yeah.
He told them not to go. They didn't listen. And then he had to whip out the 50 cal and take care of some business.
Yeah.
This one feels more like he wants to actively get involved. And I think that is against the code of what Rambo, the character, was supposed to be about. We're so far away from that guy who was anti-war, who had PTSD, who was coming back from Vietnam. That felt more real. This is kind of flying way out there, and I was hoping they were going to bring it back to the original First Blood vibe.
I just want to hear like a rewritten version of Mambo Number 5, but Rambo Number 5 in the end credits.
Rambo number 5.
All right, let's move on to a couple other chats before we wrap it up here. Micah says, after seeing It Chapter 2, do you have faith in Andy Muschietti to direct the Flash movie? Have either of you two seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you guys think? Do you think you have faith that he could do the Flash movie?
Yeah, if he's still signed on by the time it's already
Fair enough.
right?
Yeah, been a lot of revolving
I feel
doors.
like he said he doesn't want to make it like any horror at all, right? And weirdly enough, because I just saw It Chapter 2, I wasn't exactly a big fan. It was a real 50-50, that movie for me.
Okay.
I'm not sure how you guys felt about it, but yeah, it was like 50. I was pretty split on that film. But seeing a lot of like the stylistic touches, especially the way he handles those transitions and all the visuals in there, I feel like he could make a cool Flash movie, something with a lot of heart. I have a hard time envisioning what exactly he would do, but that's kind of what gets me excited about it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he's a competent filmmaker who seems to know what he wants to do when he has a project.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think, Sal?
He also he's shown a skill with younger actors, and
Great point.
That I think is really vital to making the Flash work.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that as well. I think 'cause I enjoy the first It chapter more than the second. Doesn't mean the second one's not good. It is good. Just for me, I enjoy the first one more. And because of his work with the younger actors, it would be interesting to see what he does, where they pick up this Flash. I don't believe Ezra, in my opinion, I don't think Ezra's going to do it. I think it'll be someone else, and maybe it'll be a younger Flash and see where they pick up that situation. That excites me, and letting Muschietti kind of to create the world on his own. Definitely. All right, one last question.
Finn Wolfhard as the Flash.
Finn Wolfhard as Flash. Oh my God. I don't want to run there. All right, Collider fans ask one last question here. You have one ticket for a movie tomorrow. Is it Joker or Rise of the Skywalker? Which one
Joker.
do you see?
Oh, yeah, Joker. Oh, is that too fast?
I
Joker.
know, it's please.
Yeah. I mean, Rise of Skywalker, I'm so like, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this.
Right.
Because I'm one of the few people who goes on the internet and is like, I actually really enjoyed the hell out of The Last Jedi.
Okay.
And it just seems like this movie subtitle should have been, Star Wars: The Course Correction. Because that's just these vibes I'm getting with it. It looks so cool. Like the visuals look great and I am excited for it. But Joker just seems to be doing something like reinventive with its material.
Yeah.
Whereas Star Wars seems, this one, especially with the latest trailer that came out, still very nostalgia based, which I'm okay with. I'm going to watch both opening night. I'm going to be there for both.
Right.
But Joker easily, that's the one I'm like, I'm just hearing weird things about it. And that gets me excited to hear how freaking weird it is.
Silas?
I'm excited for both. I'd take Rise of Skywalker. Just the economics of it is it's several months away, and Joker's only 1 month away. So getting an early ticket is more valuable.
It's cool logic.
Fair enough. Joker's my choice because it's got that 70s vibe to it that was really for me, my favorite period, a decade of movies is the 70s. And so it's got that vibe to it. And I like that they're approaching it from a different point of view, this story. And so I'm curious to see what they do with it. I think Rise of Skywalker is going to be great. I know it's going to be fine. JJ's going to do a good job. With Joker, I have questions. So I want to see how they clear the bar, how high they clear the bar if they do as well. So it excites me on that end. All right. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk and dealing with our technical difficulties. I apologize again for that happening, but it happens.
It was your
that's
fault.
life.
It was your fault.
No, not true. It was my fault. This shirt just kind of radiated and did that. I want to thank Silas Lesnick and Greg Alba for stopping by. Please follow Greg on The Real Rejects. Watch all his stuff on his YouTube channel that he has there. He's the man. Silas, where can they read your stuff?
Moviebill.com.
There you go.
I wrote one of the silliest things I've ever written today.
Which is?
It's 10 other pronoun movies you can check out after you see it.
I like that.
I will read that.
Yeah, Silas, that's a smart guy. There you go. All right, y'all. Thank you so much to Adam Smith for handling all the technical stuff when we went down. Appreciate it, my man. And Dorian in the chat, thanks for helping us out as well. All right, have yourselves a good weekend. We'll be back Monday with another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, enjoy your weekend full of bread. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.